Hello, I just wanted to share a little bit of what I'm doing here. This is a Bible study, and specifically a study on the life of Peter. I actually gave this Bible study last night over at the Bible study that I lead over at a friend of mine's house, and I was just really encouraged by the content myself and thought that maybe you would be encouraged as well. Peter is one of the most interesting people in the New Testament. It's amazing just how a guy like Peter could be used so effectively when he was so unstable and just so often all over the place emotionally, and yet he was used in a very powerful way. I resonate a lot with Peter because I see a lot of his characteristics in my own life sometimes, and I'm thankful for the imperfect examples of Scripture, that God has the ability to take people who are not perfect and in fact use them and turn them into trophies of His grace. And it's such a wonderful reality that we can experience as believers. So here's what it says in John 13 verses 36, beginning in verse 36. Simon Peter said unto him, Lord, whither goest thou? Jesus answered him, Whither I go, thou canst not follow me now, but thou shalt follow me afterwards. Peter said unto him, Lord, why cannot I follow thee now? I will lay down my life for thy sake. Jesus answered him, Wilt thou lay down thy life for my sake? Verily, verily, I say unto thee, the cock shalt not crow till thou hast denied me thrice. So here we have Peter making a declaration to Jesus, saying, Hey, Jesus, I'll die with you. I literally will die with you. And then let's go to chapter 18. It says, And Simon Peter stood and warmed himself. They said therefore unto him, Art thou not also one of his disciples? He denied and said, I am not. One of the servants of the high priest, being his kinsman, whose ear Peter cut off, saith, Did I not see thee in the garden with him? Peter then denied again, and immediately the cock crew. And so there we have it. Peter just denying him right away, just, 3 times. Lord, I will not deny you. And then we see him denying Jesus 3 times. Let's now go to John 21, verses 15 through 18. Now, I want to give a little bit of a context to this. Jesus at this point has died and is resurrected. And now Peter, who is actually aware that Jesus has resurrected, decides that he's still a hopeless wreck and decides that he's going to go fishing. But it's the irony of it is he goes out in the water, he goes out in the Sea of Galilee with his friends who are now following him, because he has that natural leadership ability. And he goes out there and they don't catch anything. And then Jesus tells them, hey, cast your net on the other side. And then they see this incredible miracle. And Peter's like, it's the Lord. It's totally the Lord. And so they pull in all these fish, and they're sitting there, and I love the parallelism that's in Scripture. Because how many times was it that Peter denied Jesus? It was 3 times. And then we see here in this passage that Jesus approaches Peter and affirms him 3 times. It says, So then when they had dined, Jesus saith to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou more than these? In other words, do you like me more than these fish? Do you love me more than these fish? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him again, Feed my lambs. He saith unto him again the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, Feed my sheep. He said unto him the third time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? And Peter was grieved because he said unto him the third time, Lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Jesus saith unto him, Feed my sheep. And I just think that parallelism is so cool. There is Peter denying Jesus 1, 2, 3 times. And I don't know how it went. I don't know if it was, they're finished up and, Peter's talking about something, and then Jesus just kind of interjects. Peter, do you love me? And, maybe the smile kind of disappears from Peter's face, and he looks at Jesus and he says, I love you. And then maybe they're talking about something else, and a little later on Jesus says, hey, Peter, do you love me? Peter starts to get, a little bit upset. Yeah, Jesus, I do. I love you. And then finally, Peter's just grieved at the third time when Jesus asks him, Jesus, you know that I love you. And I just think it's so wonderful in this passage how 3 times Jesus affirms Peter. I still got a place for you, Peter. You may have blown it yesterday. You may have blown it a little while ago. But I still got a place for you, and I still have a plan for you, and I want to use you. I really look at Peter in the scripture, and I see him as being that rock. He is the guy that really the church kind of springboards off of. Now, the Catholics will take that and make it into something more than what it is, and he was the first pope. That's not what Jesus is saying. But it's just such a cool revelation there. Here's Peter, the guy who's all over the place emotionally. At one point he's saying, I'm never going to deny you. And then the next minute he's denying him out of fear of a little girl. And, it's just amazing how God can take people who in and of themselves don't have what it takes. Honestly, that's where all of us are. We don't have what it takes to do what God has called us to do. But when you factor Jesus into the picture, when you factor the power that God has, the eternal, infinite, all-sufficient power that Christ in you represents, you can do what God is calling you to do. I've talked about it several times, and this is not original with me. But the whole idea of Peter walking on water, it wasn't Peter's ability that allowed him to walk on water. No, it wasn't. Whose ability was it? It was the ability of Jesus. It was Jesus' ability that allowed Peter to do something that was impossible. It took Peter's physical strength to step out of the boat, to step out onto the water. But it wasn't Peter's own strength that kept him above the waves. It was Jesus. It was Jesus' strength that kept him above the waves. And I don't know where you're at right now. I don't know what your week looked like. I don't know if you blew it royally this week. But I've got good news for you. God still has a plan for your life. And the promises of God are just as real as they were before you messed up. And you need to get back to that right relationship with God. If you failed, confess your sin, get it right with God, and then live in His power, in His ability. Not looking to yourself, but looking to the one who can keep you above the waves. History tells us that Peter ended up fulfilling the prophecy that Jesus said he was that rock. The Jerusalem church flourished under his leadership. But that wasn't Peter's ability. It was Christ's ability through Peter. And that story can be the same in your life if you let God be God and you rely on Him for victory.